I live in a medieval town in Bavaria, in Landshut. My nest is perched high up there between the roofs of the old part of town. I like to fly away, but then I need a place where I can land again, a place to come home to, hoping that somebody will be waiting for me, my children, or my friends. The old facades. My eyes crawl along the spines of the roofs. I wonder if all the crocked beams are still there, and if the tiles covered with moss are here, or have they renovated yet another house? Oh, 2 of the old trees are gone, but the children are playing in the gravel, and the dogs are still peeing on the benches. There it is, there, in the dip between the roofs. My nest. I never thought I would someday be drawing half-timbered houses. But the pictures are not about house walls. They are about Erna, always Erna. She lives in Schwerin. I saw Erna watering the old rose bush in front of the crumbling wall when I once had an exhibition there in the cathedral. I saw Erna, and I saw the old wall of her house. The skin of her house is the skin of her life. During the icy winters of the war, 1940-41, the house had already stood there a long time, giving shelter against the cold and the snooping eyes of spies. Good old walls just stood there all those years and waited through the dark nights for the next morning. And it came. And then life just carried on. Some patches of paint from her neighbor helped the window beams and Erna. In 1989, the house even survived reunification, survived until now, without any beautification, without any new antique make-up. But now the beams certainly need more than just paint. Standing there like bones, rotten and chewed on. The plaster is crumbling, layers of paint and memories. Don't touch them. I don't touch them, but I must draw and paint these houseskins, this part of Erna. Mixing the paint with sand that I had taken from under her rose bush, as if I couldn't find sand at home. It was the human body that first caught my interest in drawing, and it still fascinates me today. Drawing nude figures is a never-ending challenge. Despite all the different moods of expression, there is a very strict regularity about the human body. Everyone senses it, everyone can verify it. It is connected with architecture, columns, domes, static. It means a question of understanding tectonic continuity and tracing the flow of tension. It's feeling that line of tension must stretch from the crown all the way down to the nail of the big two. And that is the way you have to follow it through and to draw it. It's not about copying like in a photograph. I want to figure out the person I feel under the skin. A few lines, a few spatters of ink, and the eye can build volume. The eye imagines the rest. The hips I like to stretch and extend. It doesn't have to be realistic, but it must be in harmony, logical in composition. Oh, and the line is important. The way you do the line is what is essentially erotic. A stroke that is yearningly searching, or groping, urging, or the timid stroke, but at the same time lusty and daring. Oh yes, that's my book, Pas de deux. Rainer Maria Rilke dedicated a poem to the dancer Mimi, and out of that I created a whole book. Once again I went to the National Ballet in Munich to make sketches, but this time it didn't work. I wanted to catch emotions like yearning or loneliness in a line, and not just any dancing poses. That is how I came to do needle drawings. Needle drawing, that's how I call my version of monotype, because it's all about the drawing stroke. But it starts out like monotype. Lots of paint that you roll on until it smacks. Then press it. But I am not after the painted surface. I want to draw. I want the line. A line that comes out of me, from my gut or my hand, my subconscious. I don't really know. The knitting needle follows this impulse, presses the paper down and so produces the line. It has to go fast, out of one impetus, one swing. I feel my hand dancing. I don't interfere. Sometimes it's wonderful. Sometimes it gets stuck. But if it happens, there is a marvelous line, like a rough dry point in an etching. It reminds me of early prehistoric cave drawings, roughly scratched into the rock. Night of the Elks. Oh, that's Penelope. Ulysses has gun and she is weaving, but not a robe for the next suitor. She's weaving a protective cloth of peace above her island. No new man shall reign here and wage war. She is a Norn, one of the sisters of fate, weaving the threads of fate and hope, which she disentangles again in the dark of night, unraveling them to keep future open. Ulysses comes back, and Penelope tests him. Hey man, are you returning for my sake or for power? Do we have to be afraid also of you? Lines can turn into a spider web of woven threads that tremble and wail. To Africa I didn't go because of the lions or the giraffes. I went there to meet black women. I had noticed them in Paris, the slow elegance of their movements, the swaying of their hips. I wanted to see them at home in deep Africa. I bought wooden cooking spoons just to watch them dealing. Such graceful movements of their hands, as if they had an extra joint that we don't have. And I wanted to get a chance to ask them, hey, may I draw you? I had no camera with me, didn't want to snatch their faces away like a thief. Drawing them is something else, for I show myself too, and we are respectful of each other. Elephants are like the mothers of Africa, powerful, beautiful, graceful and wise, full of memories and full of secrets. They are the old spirit, the ancestral spirit of Africa. I made a calendar out of my drawings done while traveling, at the market, in the bus, or for those waiting in front of the hospital. I sell these calendars for women's projects in Tanzania. That's my way of saying thank you. I was given so much in this land. I became so rich, took so much warmth home with me, so many friendships. My sketchbooks were filled, but Rhoda bought me some packing paper at the market, and I went on. Coming home was hard. Everyone thought I was already here because I had landed. A friend welcomed me with a pile of sacks. Didn't I want any? Of course, I always want everything, at least to have a look. Bleached, not for sale, donated from the USA. Oh, these were the original Kehrsäcke from 1947. I have to keep them. Patched, the way it is done in Africa, and just like my grandma used to do it. I should glue those sacks. I can still remember how we pupils at grammar school tried to decode the stamp, the foreign writing. Donated, not for sale. We children didn't speak English. Nobody understood. Oh, it's a good thing I have this attic where I can store everything. I like chaos. That helps me paint. Painting is color and form, so they say, but I need something more. A mood inside that wants to create, like a kick in the behind. An urge, a strong passion. Yes, it's a passion to create. And that usually starts with such snatches of memories, like these Kehrsäcks. Every day after school, we had a cup of porridge with cocoa. The Americans sent us that, my grandma told me. They send powdered milk and sugar and cocoa. They want to save the children in Germany. Americans? They were all blacks for me, for we had a black occupation in the village. And the word Negro tasted sweet and black like chocolate. For a long time, I couldn't believe that there could be hungry black children. I told Rhoda about that as we sat in the shade of the mango tree, and she asked me if I would help to build a school for children who were too poor to pay the school fees. The building site was cheap. Nobody wanted it because everyone in Bagamoyo knew about the little ravine that was on the property. Bagamoyo was the place where the slaves were shipped away over to Zanzibar and then on from there. Whoever was able to flee here hid in this ravine until nightfall. This ravine of laments, Rhoda said, I'll make it the center of the school, the center of our learning, because it's our history, our roots are here. I took a handful of that red earth from the ravine and the idea for my calendar. It's fall in Bavaria, it's getting chilly and cold. But in my feelings, I'm still sitting on the warm soil under the mango tree near Rhoda. The Native Americans, the Red Indians, know how long it takes the soul to catch up when the body has traveled too fast. They wait sitting at the edge of the road for their soul. I try drawing to help me come home. I walk along the river towards the familiar birch trees and the seagulls out at the rocky point. My sitting at the edge of the road is drawing. It helps me to concentrate, to slow down and get myself grounded. Greetings from a bird, a feather of a seagull, thick enough to use for China ink drawings? Perhaps I should start with ink and the care sacks, bits of childhood memories. But what is my hand doing? Drawing cranes and geckos? I'm still in Africa. Even if I have an easel to paint on, I mostly prefer to sit at the floor as if playing like a child. If it gets to be too routine-like, then I use my left hand. It senses much more, is more aware, has closer contact to the subconscious. Oh, my left hand knows more than I. Or draw blindly. Don't look at the paper. Let the line come from within. Listen to the pen. I felt these things don't go together. What are those dark African faces doing on these aluminium sheets? Elephants between care sacks? But it seemed to paint itself. The ravine in Bagamoyo, the fleeing slaves, their fear, their mad hope of escaping. And the others who couldn't escape, those herded onto the ships, loaded like sugarcane, tied together, stacked in the freight rooms, packed like sardines, carted away. Again and again I held the sand from Roda's ravine, moved it from here to there, until I started mixing it with eggs and varnish. I wonder if this paint will stick to the aluminium, which normally is too hard to paint on. It won't absorb, will refuse liquid. It even throws back my image at me like a mirror. What a yellow, like ripe mangoes. Now, paper that works. Oh, what a wonderful deep brown, like Rhoda's skin. Your great-great-great-grandfather had the courage to escape, Rhoda told the boy. Remember this. You have the same energy. Use it. Go, find your path. They must have taken this power and a deep hope with them in the bellies of the slave ships when they were carried off and sold at the slave markets of India and America. I found the tracks in the middle of New York, a cemetery for slaves, the African burial ground, in the center of Manhattan. The cathedrals of power, the towers of the financial center are built on the bones of black slaves. Hardly anybody knows this. The African burial ground at the World Trade Center, these are the roots of America. This belongs to Manhattan, like Chinatown and like Orchard Street. Sometimes it's just a glimpse of an eye that I take with me, as it was the sad glance the beggar woman threw at me. I just walked by, but her look followed me until I painted her. Sometimes I collect strange souvenirs. From Manhattan, I took a smell, actually a bad smell, with me. At home, I suddenly smelled New York. The harbor, Pier 16, tar. Someone was tar-boarding his garage roof. That smell took me right back to Manhattan. I had to see if I could paint with that black mush. Yes, it works. What an exciting brown, crust-like, thick and gooey, it cracks over a layer of white window paint, layering randomly crumbling structures. Changes from dark blue, brown to the most delicate cappuccino. Scratching round with a putty knife, playing round, stinking round, waiting to see how it might turn out. But yes, it works. Yes, I painted with tar. It still smells. Yes, it's tar and window varnish. And, oh yes, this mood was heavy, but I just had to paint it. An exhibition is also like a black hole. That's an intimidating feeling for me. I have to start again afterwards. The sound of a cello, a melody, a poem can help me begin afresh, to find new colors and a new mood. Painting and music are like sisters. They are very close together. Both rely on colors, on chromatism and composition. Both have grammar and rules, and yes, there is the yearning not just to storm the heavens but to go far beyond.